Hi everyone, thank you for coming back. So in that second part, what we will be doing is, in fact, looking at some new features that we have as part of the Cloud Pak for automation. But also, I wanted to broaden up a little bit the discussion beyond what I mean in terms of the ecosystem and what's coming next. Trying to make, to give you some food for thought for the ones of you who are already officially partners of IBM. In any case, you have access as well to the to the roadmap of our products, which is released and updated constantly, but released at least on a quarterly basis. Now, going through every single one of these slides might not be of full interest, right? So that's I will try to not go into just rolling off the different slides one after the other. Maybe just zoom on a couple of them. There was one thing which I really wanted to take the opportunity to do with you. It's to go through a small video of what for me it's extremely exciting. It's an announcement that we've made a few weeks back at our worldwide event Think, and that is in the shape of Watson Orchestrate. I don't know if you heard, maybe in the chat for the ones who have seen already or heard about Watson Orchestrate. It would be interesting to have your hands. Just seeing maybe if some of you have heard of Watson Orchestrate saying it, but the point of Watson Orchestrate is that it's really coming to the tipping point of what we will be releasing normally later this year, and it's really where different of our technologies are all coming into play and fitting in a very meaningful way altogether. For the ones of you who have potentially some Google Nest at home, using the Google Assistant on your tablets or in a voice activated way, for the ones of you working with Alexa and having some some tablet with Alexa on, etc., you would understand, or Siri even, you would understand how frustrating it is sometimes that even basic capabilities are not rendered by these so-called assistants. And to put these assistants, which are really meant for lifestyle kind of augmentation, into work for a professional life is not something which is pretty easy, right? So they might help sometimes into a couple of things. They might ease the pain of having to write down or to interact by hands onto some elements and some interfaces, by grabbing, for instance, and I don't know, recording some time onto a specific activity, by recording an appointment or stuff like that. That is working somehow. However, if you want to go for more complex and customized kind of activities, it's extremely difficult. And that is really what we wanted to do, is the discussion we've had internally a couple of years back is, how can I build up a Siri for the professional life, for the office? What would be the Siri of the office? What would be the assistant of the office, which can really make me help and accelerate somehow onto tasks which are common but take time for nothing? And that's how we came up with the Watson Orchestrate story, which is still in finalization for the moment. But I want to make a demo. I will just show you a little bit what it is about, and you will understand in the back that whatever I've been saying about AI, consumable AI at work, having the Hyperautomation sets of features meaningfully integrated with each other, having RPA in the back doing stuff for you, etc. It's really now out of a sudden going from sci-fi to the reality. So with this, let me just share my screen. Okay. Just please tell me vocally if you, because I don't see anymore the screen. Just tell me if you can listen, or if you can hear it well or not, right? So I can make some adjustments if need be.
through interactive AI technology that puts automation at the fingertips of business professionals to help them increase their personal productivity. This innovation is able to do 4 key things for employees. It's able to collaborate using email and calendar. It can watch for changes in business systems and send a notification. It can help analyze business data, and it can work with business systems on behalf of the user. Let's see this in action for Carol, a sales executive. As you can see on the left, Carol can chat with Watson Orchestrate through Slack. Slack is one of the many interactive modes the product offers. On the right, you see the core skills that Watson Orchestrate comes with. As soon as it's deployed in Carol's team, she can immediately interact with it to do any of these tasks, such as scheduling a meeting like she's doing here. When using any of these skills, Watson Orchestrate is capable of reaching back out to Carol for any missing information it needs to get the job done. On the right, you'll notice that the list of skills has expanded significantly. Carol's manager has enabled access to a bunch of automations that are specific to Carol's role as a seller, including out-of-the-box Salesforce skills and sales-specific automations from their existing IBM automation platform. In this demo, Watson Orchestrate has been set up with sales-focused sales. But keep in mind, if you're looking to accelerate a part of your organization other than sales, Watson Orchestrate can be set up to work with other business systems like Workday and SAP by swapping out the automation skills. Our business partner ecosystem has expertise in many domains, and we will leverage them to rapidly scale Watson Orchestrate's reach into popular business systems. Now let's see an example of how Carol can get Watson Orchestrate to keep working even when Carol's not logged into Salesforce. Carol can set up a watch for any time one of her opportunities in Salesforce moves to the proposal stage. When someone updates a future corp opportunity in Salesforce, Watson Orchestrate receives the notification and then reaches out to Carol to ask if it can help her with this opportunity. This allows Carol to immediately determine what needs to happen next. You can picture Carol turning away from her monitor and picking up her phone to make a sales call or check in on a new customer. By taking on routine tasks and watching for updates, Watson Orchestrate has freed up Carol to spend more face-to-face time with customers. Now let's see an example of how Watson Orchestrate can bring together insights from the many applications employees already use. To access sales data, traditionally, Carol would have to log into Salesforce to manually run reports, then move that data into Excel to create the graphs she needs. But now Carol is able to tell Watson Orchestrate through natural language what she's looking for. Watson Orchestrate can generate advanced queries at her request and instantly display the data for her in a table. And just as simply, Carol asks Watson Orchestrate to graph that data for her. Watson Orchestrate's built-in memory and context allows it to share data it retrieved using the natural language query skill with the data visualization skill. This enables Carol to work with Watson Orchestrate on more than just one-off requests. Lastly, Carol can choose to use these insights as she sees fit. For now, she uses Watson Orchestrate to email them to her. Watson Orchestrate is aware of its team and context and can look up Carol's email address from the company directory. With this interactive AI, employees can access the information from these applications in one tool and in seconds. All this is just the beginning. Up until now, we've seen Watson Orchestrate perform individual tasks. Now we'll see it work with Carol on more complex tasks and help her with decision-making. With one simple request, Watson Orchestrate kicks off multiple automations to help Carol generate a quote. To Carol, this is just a blink of the eye. But under the covers, Watson Orchestrate is flexing its power to mix and match skills as it finds the right path to the solution. It parses the product and quantity information from the document Carol provided, imports that product information into Salesforce, creates a quote in Salesforce, and then exports the quote for Carol as a PDF. Next, we'll see how Watson Orchestrate helps Carol decide on the optimal discount for this deal. This time, let's take a closer look at how Watson Orchestrate's intelligent orchestration AI really works. On the right side, we've replaced the profile with an under-the-hood visualization of how Watson Orchestrate plans and executes these complex tasks. When Carol asks it to help identify the highest discount applicable to this opportunity, Watson Orchestrate's planning algorithm evaluates Carol's request against all its known skills and generates a confidence score for each skill. It selects the skill that scored the highest. In this case, the discount skill, as it scored 96% confidence. Then Watson Orchestrate executes the specific steps within that selected skill. Using this new discount information and all the sales analysis that Watson Orchestrate helped Carol with in the previous scenario, Carol is empowered to make the final decision on the discount to apply. Finally, Watson Orchestrate can not only help with single complex tasks, but can also sequence multiple tasks on the fly. Here's where Watson Orchestrate's AI really shines and empowers employees to automate complex series of tasks as needed. When Carol asks it to apply the discount and get it approved, the AI is able to break down the single instruction from Carol to recognize that it needs to complete two separate tasks in sequence. First, it needs to apply the 28% discount to the quote in Salesforce using the Update Quote skill. Once that skill has completed, it then needs to submit the updated quote to Susan, Carol's manager, for approval using the Approval Workstream skill. A process that would have required Carol to log into multiple systems and complete multiple forms is taken care of by Watson Orchestrate in a single step. Carol can spend less time working with internal systems and more time building customer relationships and closing deals. This hits the 4 capabilities we wanted to share about this breakthrough new technology. Watson Orchestrate can collaborate, watch for changes, analyze business data, and work with business systems, thus freeing up workers to have time to focus on critical thinking and human-centric tasks.
Voila. So I'll just stop it here. So you will see. So one of the elements that I wanted to share with you is the fact that this is really when you look at our definition of hyperautomation. I mean, the extended one of Gartner with all the services that we have in the back. You just realize that we had everything actually to build that up, and it was just a matter actually of having that integration done. Now heavily relying also onto more, I would say, natural language processing, but we learned extremely by having multiple projects run the last 3-4 years with Watson Assistant. And if you just add up the capabilities of text-to-speech, speech-to-text, all that could just happen, in fact, with a totally natural way by just interacting and speaking to the engine, right? So the idea here is that what you just seen is sets of core skills which will be delivered as part of the system out of the box, and then the ability also for integrators and customers to build up their own specific skills depending on the vertical business, depending on the specific I would say set of technical capabilities and services in the back. So skills might just be reflecting as part of this environment the specific applications actually in the customer's vertical business. So, but at the end of the day, what you've seen over there is natural language processing in order to understand what to be doing. Then there are sets of API calls which are registered in the back, all that happening in real time by having a catalog of services which are embedded all together into skills. And then what you have also is activities which are performed by bots, which then can mimic what a user should do behind every single skill. And by recording actually what a user does, then this becomes part of the skill, and you can then do complex tasks, opening 20 applications, do copy and paste here and there, activating the right sets of functions from a specific application in order to just perform what was just asked through one single sentence. So that's where finally, I would say automation really takes its power based on AI, because it makes things just usable. I mean, it makes you really earn back time onto what we do every single day, right? So it's another game, and so far we were fighting with some players and other platform vendors. We're not that many, but there are some platform vendors which are somehow following up onto our own strategy of assembling sets of capabilities throughout this hyperautomation concept. However, what these guys do not have is the engineering of Watson and the 20-30 years of research into machine learning and that we have on our end in order to build that up from their own engineering. So here I really believe that we are coming and I wouldn't speak of a roadmap, but honestly, from the engineering, what I got is that the aim is really to get that delivered on the markets very, very soon. So again, we're not speaking of something which will happen in 2 years. So this is really, again, a very, very valid reason to invest into the Cloud Pak for business automation, because it delivers all the sets of capabilities which then allow an organization to build up these skills and assemble them in a natural way through the Watson Orchestrate layer. Voila. I don't know if at this step you have any questions specifically for this already. Maybe your feedback might be interesting already here, honestly. Nothing very much moving into the chat for the moment, so okay. So next, there is another thing that I wanted to share with you, because we've had lots of discussions on the RPA story with in the recent months. Of course, we were and we are still partnering with AA Automation Anywhere on RPA, but we have also our own engine, and the very reason for that is that for us to be recognized as hyperautomation player on the market, because of the very definition of Gartner's hyperautomation, we had to have our own RPA engine. That's really one of the 3 ingredients of hyperautomation. So we had to manage our own fate. Second element of that is that AA, at the time that we wanted to start containerizing all our products, was not ready for that at that time. So that means that we were already pursuing for the last 5 years an hybrid cloud strategy, and this was not possible actually on that path. So we had actually to go for a cloud-ready kind of environment for RPA as well, and that's the reason why we made also that. But the last point is that, as I said previously, one of the key definitions of what the Cloud Pak for business automation is built upon is the AI element. And as I said, as part of IBM RPA now, the acquisitions we've done there are full sets of AI capabilities, such as the chatbot capability that you've seen here in represented into the Watson Orchestrate story. But we also have IVRs. We also have these way of interacting physically by speech towards an engine, and therefore that's an additional capability that we can build with Watson Orchestrate for the future. So now the question was, yeah, but what do I do? Do I go for A? Do I go for IBM RPA? Honestly, what I'm seeing on the market is that companies are changing also their pricing model, and what I very much believe is that, and we see really that happening at customers, is that in terms of RPA, one of the elements is that RPA is becoming more or less a commodity. It's reaching a point of maturity where, if you look at the different engines, the top engines are starting now rendering more or less the same kind of sets of capabilities. Beyond that, when you rely on a specific technology, such as UiPath, which just started being ranked onto the New York exchange. What you will see is that their pricing model is also changing very much. So some customers are starting complaining about the fact that the cost of ownership is going higher. So it might be a good way of thinking to say, okay, because these elements render more or less the same sets of features, I might just invest into one of the key ones into the Magic Quadrant, and potentially go beyond the story of RPA with another one, which is a platform player. And that's really what we are. I mean, at the end of the day, when some of our partners coming back to us and say, okay, guys, you might have started into the RPA story 3 years too late. My answer to that is that when you are looking what the RPA vendors are doing, they go to the platform story, which is where we were already 5 years ago. So I think that we are definitely probably 5 years ahead of the game in terms of the platform positioning, and that's where we really go for. I mean, our goal is to deliver automation, not robots. So as part of that story, there is a requirement for some customers which are now pushed to go from version 11 to version 365 of Automation Anywhere, because they are, I mean, Automation Anywhere decided actually to stop the support of the current version to push the customers to go to the new engine, and that means a migration between the two. We've had in the last 12 months some requests to move for customers to move from one technology to the other, and they were also asking to get support onto the migration of the buses themselves. One of the elements I just wanted to show with you is that we partner up with one technology partner of us, and I will just show you a little bit what we do with this. So let me just show you some screenshots I've done this morning of the engine. I will not go for a full-fledged demo of it because not the purpose, but it's just to give you some vision on what we can we do in some cases for migrating from Automation Anywhere. And we work with Salient, which is a first-tier partner of us, who, by the way, have already developed core capabilities of our platform. So for the one of you who have already worked in the past with BAW or with Case Manager, now moving to BAW, the interface, the UI, the coach forms that you have as part of BAW is coming from a project that we acquired from Salient. So these guys are pretty close to our products. They live with our technologies and they are part of our ecosystem. So we worked with them at some point and discussed about that need, and they came up with what they call Botverter, which is a SaaS product. For these of you which might be interested, we can create a Zoom session specifically for that with Rosine in the next session. But the point is, you can just update, I mean, fire by registering on botverter.com your definitions of a bots, and it will start building up an analysis, an audit of the code, mapping the functions of on one side what Automation Anywhere version 11 has, and on the other side the 650 commands that we have as part of IBM RPA, and it will tell you, okay, these are all the commands I could recover in one-to-one, and these are the ones potentially that might just not translate in one-one to the other side, so that these ones should be converted in a manual way. But that will be, at the end of the day, that is one of the elements that Automation Anywhere has as well, because the two products, the two versions that they have currently on the market, being version 11 and the latest version 365, are not sharing the same exact object model, and they are not converted from one to the other as such in a snap neither. So there will be rework anyways, even by staying inside the AA ecosystem. And therefore, what you see is after the review, this was one of the reason why I go through that is because, again, in the last few weeks, we've had lots of requests of partners about this. So now we have a clear model on how to engage on this one. And the idea is that what you see here is you will have an overview of the save time of rework, which is estimated based on hundreds of assignments from Salient, and they will just translate the code from one to the other. So you will see what could be translated and what might potentially not have a one-to-one mapping for. So you identify at the end how many commands there were, how many you can really recover automatically, and this goes up to 85–90% of recovery. So at the end of the day, the gap that you need to close most of the time is not that big. Yeah, as I said, the audit is free of charge. Okay, so you can really make your audit yourself, and then at some point, what is really billable is this function of download the RPA bot. So out of that conversion, you get the IBM RPA definition of it, and this is a little bit what I just wanted to make as a parenthesis in terms of the ecosystem. Now, one of the elements So yeah, here it's just demonstrating the fact that out of 65 original commands, only one wasn't supported. So there will be some rework for that black one, which is just here. Now, beyond that, if you look at what we do with BlueWorks Live, which is our online collaboration tool for defining and doing process discovery, and where we speak with customers during the workshops and discuss about, yeah, what are the key steps of your process, and let's break that down into sub-steps, etc. And we design through garage sessions with them what the process can be for POCs or for actual projects. At the end of the day, that documentation environment is extremely valuable, but that, as I said previously, one of the elements that you get out of that is that it's very subjective. Okay, on the other side of the spectrum, now with the acquisition we've done of process mining with MineVenue, by plugging and setting up the environment at the customer side, you get data that you can then recover and build up the processes, sets of processes automatically. So the system will just derive the overall picture of the process and identify also what are the steps which are problematic, where the project is the process is stuck. Now, this is again the other spectrum, because that is completely objective by having pure data defining the process. Now, one of the capabilities that inside being it at AA or being it at IBM WDG, we didn't yet put on the market is the one feature that UiPath has with the Automation Hub. And what is the Automation Hub? It's an application where you can just throw your initiatives for automation. It's a manifest, it's a list of all these processes could be candidate for automation. And then you start defining a little bit, again, you don't need to be a developer, that's really the business owners who can do that. You define how many steps you have. If you have a design in Visio or in BPMN for the different steps, you can just send it through. You can give a costing model per activity or for the overall department running that process. And at the end of the day, you can do, you will have that list with some math done about this is the cost of a process, and I would like to automate that. Now, what you don't have as part of that usually is the what if scenarios. So what if I change this part of the process? What if I can automate functionally these 2 hours or these 20 days that this step takes into delay, and I can run that into 2 hours because I changed somehow the underlying process? What if it's a bot doing what I do in an hour in 2 minutes, because it can go very much faster than I do in order to accelerate the different clicks, etc. So this is where you and the customers can start defining priorities and return on investment on the initiatives and the investments of the Cloud Pak for Business Automation. And that was some kind of a missing link actually that we had, and that is also something that we partnered with Salient, which is taking the shape of what they call Automation Compass. And Automation Compass is something that you can also go and register for, and that's a companion, I would say, tool to both IBM RPA, the process mining features that we have, and the overall Cloud Pak sets of capabilities. And how does that work? In fact, what you will see in there is, and we will be releasing a model, a pricing model for that anytime soon, and it's really a matter of hours more than days or weeks, honestly. But the idea is that you will be able to go throw for free your automation initiatives. So you can really start building up through here the opportunity table, some IDs of processes. And how does that work? By going into creating your own initiative. It's a wizard. in fact, where you start with the ideation part. So you start really saying, okay, here I would like to start, I don't know, with automating the invoice processing. Okay, and I will give a summary of that. I will say, okay, the source of it is some analysis that I've done already. So I might have already a design in Visio or anything else. I might have some documentation, or it's a customer request, or it's a top-down request from the management, etc., etc. So I will deliver some sets of metadata, which will help me tackling also the dependencies of how many people are impacted, what are the departments that I will have to align if I decide finally to go. What is that a departmental initiative, or is that a cross-departmental, etc., etc.? Because of course, in terms of of governing this initiative, it requires then higher level of sponsorship, etc., etc. But eventually, you just type in the different elements that you want to, or that define, in fact, this initiative, and what you will see is that at some point, so here, you end up having some metadata which is passing by. You can start speaking about the dependencies in terms of systems, which will be to be integrated, and it will start by providing, let's say, the some sets of information about the costs it takes nowadays to do that manually versus what you expect to be able to automate. It will start giving a total cost to your process. I mean, that is basic math, okay? And then at some point you will get the ability, by giving the cost of investment here, so saying actually, if I want to do that, I will need that amount. I mean, I don't know, 20K of software, and then 40K of development, for instance. Then how do I start having my breakdown? After how many weeks do I start getting a return on investment, et cetera, et cetera? So what will be the project lengths and these kind of things? So it can start really building up for you a manifest, a list of the different capabilities, of the different initiatives that the customer can capture. But one of the elements which is interesting is that it can also plug into sources such as BlueWorks Live from IBM, which is our design, again, our online design tool, and it will recover then diagrams, or you can just push these diagrams or edit diagrams automatically or manually here into the very system. You will design your swimming lanes definition, and then it will translate that into the core capabilities of the Cloud Pak for automation. So it can tell you, by using NLP, natural language processing, by analyzing the different steps and what the metadata is with every one of these steps, it gives you then a ranking of these steps could be rendered through tasks, meaning RPA. These would be good candidates to be automated through workflow. These are the ones which are the best candidates to look at automating partially with decisions. This is where you will really need the content piece and the dependency of a content management system. And these are all the steps that you could potentially migrate from manual tasks into automatic task with a capture engine. Okay, so basically what it does is what a solution architect nowadays does at our business partners, or what we do in pre-sales as well, which is looking deeper into what the design of a process is, and then say, this is why it fits, in fact, the value of the Cloud Pak for business automation. And then it goes way beyond this, because you can start digging into the process itself and say, okay, look, for this specific task, the Cloud Pak for business automation, or the process mining, or my own analysis with my business owners at the customer side is saying that we are spending, I don't know, that amount of time doing that like that. By experience, we could potentially reach that amount of time and optimize that specific step, or this and that specific step. If I run a simulation on these changes, scenario 1 being the baseline, and then the updated scenario that we expect out of the automation initiative by running sets of capabilities of the Cloud Pak for Business Automation, it will translate this into a business value assessment. And then what you give it here, it's the basic simulation wizard. So you have two simulation wizards that you can take. There is a basic one and an advanced one. But here with the basic one, very quickly, here we chose the activity. Then we will give some assumptions like what is the as is and to be situation. And I really believe, because I've done it already with lots of other customers or lots of other processes, that this particular step we could do from 60 minutes to 2 in an average. With 1 or 2 workers to 1 or 0 workers even here, if it's a task that I can really fully automate with RPA. And potentially, what is the worker cost per hour here? And if, again, it's a robot doing that, I can bring that back to the cost of ownership of the SaaS model of the RPA. Okay. Then next step, we will go to the simulation options. There we will say, okay, run that for that many instances. Okay, maybe I know that I have that many instances which run per week, that many invoices, for instance, that I need to process, or that I usually process on a monthly basis. And by running the overall system based on this data, what I will get, sorry, is here, run my simulation, and this is what you get. So it will start computing with its own algorithm, and it changes parameters, actually input parameters for this box here, depending on what it can discover into the design. It will give different kind of values, etc., in order to simulate different types of processes. Some of them being budget approved, some of them being budget not approved. So that is really the difference between the advanced and the basic simulator. When you go to advanced, you can really start shuffling what is the ramp up of the process. Maybe I can start with some and then potentially grow through time, or I can say specifically, because I have that data out of the process mining system, I can say, okay, I have exactly that amount of processes on a month of June. Every year I have that amount of processes of this kind, but in July I will have so many in average, and in August so many, etc. So I can really feed the system with very specific data if I can recover them. And at the end, what it will give you is really the BVA story, business value assessment, where you can really see what are the idle times that will be built up, what is the utilization of your people and your teams. So here they are much compressed. So actually, to carry on these 1,000 instances, normally it will take you up to mid of September or start of October. Here you're done with that by July 20th. And going further, you have a report at the end and the summary of the scenario 1 versus the scenario 2, where you can really break that down into the TCO of the two situations. How many business, then you can translate that to the BVA full wizard by giving some more additional information. And you will get more or less the cost, in fact, of your initiative being reported to the customer, which is really something that we do on a billable base at IBM also. So it's really the kind of analysis that can take ages to perform through Excel, etc. Here, the system will just render all that for you and report that in a nice way, giving also an objective vision of these are the return on investment period. So after 6 months, in fact, every single instance that you run after that is benefit. Okay, so being it for customers themselves, or for for you as an integrator, a business partner, actually, who have to defend the initiatives of the Cloud Pak for Business Automation, that is a fantastic tool which allows you very easily to produce nice slides which are based on the information that the customer will get you, like the average cost, the amount of iterations, etc., and which will give you very visual also way of setting that up. So again, it's the whole idea was to really go into a zero code approach for building up all that evaluation. And as you can see here, that is really one of the key elements of differentiation between the advanced and the basic one, like process star distribution. Either you can have an even distribution, or if you have the data, you can start really saying, okay, this is a custom star distribution data, and it will span like that, etc., etc. Okay. So voila, enough for Automation Compass, but that as well. I mean, I don't see comments onto the chat, but if you really want to see that in live, we have access to it right now as we're finalizing our go-to-market with Stallion on this, and because of our go-to-market being shifting to channel first, the idea is that this tool will be sold by you guys. It's not IBM which will be selling it. It's really for the integrators to support your sales of the Cloud Pak for Business Automation, and it's really an add-on, I would say, to what we do with our low-code stack nowadays. So the Cloud Pak for Business Automation, my Invenio, and the RPA story, it's really fitting all the pieces and gluing them all together in terms of how do we elaborate a business case for selling the complete story, and it's more or less an assistant to you. So I would say nowadays it's really meant mostly as a free of charge service. In the future, it might come with some cost as an add-on to BlueWorks Live, which is also a very low-cost product of us. But for the moment, we are really seeking at partners who would like to test it. So if you feel like this feature is something of interest for you, or the Botverter, please contact us. Send us an email afterwards in order to get some presentation in depth and a demo of it in order for you to start running it as soon as possible at customers. Okay. Voila. Then we are really reaching the end of this what's coming next kind of session. Again, as I said, I still have the roadmap that we can go through, but it's a no full amount of slides that honestly, depending on your specific needs and depending on what you really want to see, because all partners are not the same, all customers are not the same, we'd rather go and assemble, I would say, a specific deck depending on what you really want to see and what are the components of interest for you, as we have quite many now into the Cloud Pak for Business Automation. So I'd rather go for a roadmap session, I would say, specifically depending on what you want to see next, if it's okay for you. Any questions at this step? We still have like 4 minutes for it.
I don't see any questions yet.
I'm happy to hear you. I was just I was just feeling like the session was just conducted with you guys not hearing me. So okay, that's cool.
Okay. So thank you very much, Yanis. And as Yanis said, please don't hesitate to contact me or Yanis directly, and we can schedule a meeting or a webinar for any of your specific needs. So that will be it. Thank you again. And if there are no questions or any remark, I think that we can end the sessions here. Also, we will send the recording to all of you so that you can rewatch it. And if there are any questions, you can ask them afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you for your attention.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.